Everywhere I go, there's a drill sergeant there. Everywhere I go, there's a drill sergeant there. Drill sergeant, drill sergeant, why don't you leave me alone? Whoo! Man, it's been a minute since I posted my last video, y'all, and I apologize for my tardiness. You know, I promised you this OCS video like almost 2 months ago, and I kept saying next week, next week, next week. In my defense, I actually recorded this multiple times to include over 2 hours yesterday, and I'm using this new shotgun mic, didn't bother troubleshooting it to make sure that it was giving good audio, and after I finally got done recording it after 2 hours, I realized that the audio was completely jacked up from the floor up. So with that being said, I humbly ask you to forgive me for my tardiness. So with that being said, right, OCS is your Officer Candidate School Program. There are different ways one can commission as a commissioned officer in the United States Army. OCS is one of them. You can also leverage the ROTC program through college. There are green to gold options and direct commission options as well, which are extremely limited. But with that being said, this one is going to be an overview on OCS and only OCS. I will do future videos on the other options of commissioning into the Army to include like the different types of officers, right? You have non-commissioned officers like me, your AKA Drill Sergeant Swartz here. And then you have your commissioned officers who are your general officers. Then you have your specialty officers, which are your AMED, your medical officers, your chaplain, which is your religious officer, and your JAG, your military law officers. Then there's another type of officer called warrant officers, who are your subject matter experts, who are their technical experts in that field, okay? And again, I'll be doing separate videos on all about those. Today is strictly OCS. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get real. So stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Welcome back here to Team Swartz, and if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. Here I post a ton of Army basic training tips, recruiting, and other Army-related videos to include going live weekly to address your most desired questions and concerns. So, with that being said, my name is Lewis, and welcome to my channel. And if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel and turning on all bell notifications so you don't miss anything. I create content, again, around the recruiting process of the United States Army to help you make a well-informed decision on whether or not this would be a good option for you or not, to include helping you to prepare yourself mentally and physically for Army basic training. Now, by day, I am a full-time New York Army National Guard recruiter and a part-time drill sergeant with our recruit sustainment program. I have over 16 years of experience, so I have that edge, that advantage to be able to help provide to you good and accurate content around those two particular topics. So with that being said, let's go into the OCS option. First of all, what is a commissioned officer? So going through the enlistment process or throughout your military career, if you're looking to become a commissioned officer, you are either enlisting as an enlisted soldier, which is a lower enlisted, or not commissioned officers like your boy here, or commissioning as an officer, okay? So with that being said, let me break it down to you in layman's terms, okay? Or let me use this analogy to describe the rank structure throughout the military before we move forward. Let's look at McDonald's in this particular example, okay? You have the lower enlisted, which are your doers, right? You have the cashiers, the fry person, the grill person, the person prepping the sandwiches with all the condiments and all that good stuff. You get the drink person, the person that's walking around tidying up the place, make sure it's swept, mopped, clean, spot mop, so on and so forth, right? Those are your lower enlisted. Those are the doers, right? The workers. Then you have your managers, and then for this example, the managers are your non-commissioned officers. Those are the ones that are overseeing the operations, managing their teams, motivating, inspiring, providing purpose, motivation, and direction to their lower enlisted, right? To make sure that their mission or their daily tasks are done, and to help, put out fires when you have irate customers, so on and so forth, right? So as a non-commissioned officer, our job is to take care of you guys, and we work side by side with you in the trenches, okay? Then upstairs, you got those people that are sucking down coffee, doing those boardroom meetings, right? And, checking the profits and such. Those are like your CEOs, CFOs, and so on and so forth. Those are your commissioned officers or your general officers, okay? Then you have those warrant officers who are technically skilled in a particular area. For example, let's say you got your finance guy, you got your marketing person, right? You got somebody that's in HR, so on and so forth. Those are your technical experts that know everything, the ins and outs of that particular field, and their sole purpose is to advise the commander or the commissioning officers on XYZ so that the officers can make decisions. That's pretty much who the rank structure in a nutshell. Hopefully you understood that analogy. If I failed to deliver the the analogy properly, I'll do better. All right, so what is the difference between a non-commissioned officer and a commissioned officer? First of all, a non-commissioned officer may or may not have a 4-year degree. Commissioned officers are required to have a 4-year degree. That's one. But with that being said, non-commissioned officers, or NCOs for short, are enlisted soldiers with specific skills and duties such as training, recruiting, technology, and military policing. The Army refers to us as the backbone of the Army. On the other hand, commissioned officers are management. They give the NCOs and their lower ranks their missions, their assignments, and their orders. So what exactly is the role of a commissioned officer? Okay, so you gotta think of this, okay? They are tasked with training and leading their soldiers. They are responsible for protecting them by helping boost their morale by leading by example, as well as orchestrating the professional development of their subordinates. Do commissioned officers make more money than, say, enlisted soldiers? And to answer that, commissioned officers do make substantially more than enlisted soldiers, due to the fact that they have way more responsibility, and as a result, they are compensated more. Be sure to check out the calculator, the pay calculator, in the description down below. You're gonna check out what an E1, the E means for pay grade, E is for enlisted, O is for officer, W is for warrant officers, okay? So I want you to compare an E1 with less than 2 years of service versus an O2, a second lieutenant with less than 2 years of service, and compare the two together and see the difference between a private and an O2, okay, which is a lieutenant. And then you'll see the difference. So how do you address an officer? And that's pretty darn easy, okay? If you're addressing a commissioned officer, you're gonna refer to them as sir or ma'am. If you're addressing a chief warrant officer, you will either reference them as Mr. or Miss, or some will call sir or ma'am, but typically it's Mr. or Miss, or you can just simply call them chief, okay? Do not, and I say again, do not refer to a commissioned officer as a sergeant. Calling them sergeant implies that an officer is not willing to put in real hard effort or real work, or willing to simply get their hands dirty. So, calling them sergeant basically is a slight at their work ethic. I get asked this from time to time, and do commissioned officers have to complete Army basic training? And in most cases, yes, you do. You have to complete Army basic training in most cases, except for certain instances like ROTC, direct commissions, all right? Outside of that, expect to complete 10 weeks of Army basic training, okay? And with that being said, I'll post a card right up here, or you can check out in the description area down below where all my videos are in my mini series of what to expect at Army basic training amidst the coronavirus pandemic. And it includes all the normal things, and I add the COVID stuff, all right? So it's still applicable even when we hopefully, knock on wood, get through COVID in 2021, as long as everything continues to decrease and trending in the right or better direction. So yeah. All right, so I get this question all the time. How do you qualify, or what are the eligibility standards to become a commissioned officer of the United States Army? Okay, so for OCS, age and education may vary depending on the OCS program, which I'll go over in a second. But the baseline, the basics that you must meet in order to even pre-qualify for an OCS packet is you have to be a born U.S. citizen, born abroad, or a naturalized citizen. You cannot join or go in and request to become a commissioned officer as a green card holder, as a permanent resident. You must be a U.S. citizen. So the maximum age for appointment into the federal OCS program to commission as a second lieutenant, you need to commission or receive your appointment on or before your 34th birthday. You must have a GT line score of 110 or better and qualify for a secrets clearance. Now, I'll put it to you this way, okay? When it comes to a secret clearance, you cannot have financial, derogatory, very negative things in your history, like bankruptcy, collections, charge-offs, things of that nature, okay? We don't care too much about your credit score, but we're looking at your credit history, late payments, anything over 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, why didn't you pay for it, what were the reasons for it, and all that good stuff. So you better have a compelling, legitimate reason for failing to meet your responsibility for your finances that you failed to pay on time or even at all. So if you have a charge off or collections that was never paid, that's going to be factored in the decision-making process and whether or not you're going to get pre-approved for a clearance or not. Same thing with moral violations, okay? Everything counts when it comes to law violations. So if you've ever been arrested, handcuffed, fingerprinted, stood before a judge, anything, do not let your recruiter lie to you and just say, hey, let's just run your fingerprints and see what pops up. No. If you were fingerprinted, it will come up. If you were not fingerprinted, it may or may not come up, but it is in your best interest to disclose everything. The reason being is if you fail to be honest and forthright with your criminal history, and you enlist and they find out through the background investigation that you in fact have been arrested or you have something on file, even as a juvenile that supposedly gets expunged and stricken from record, the fingerprints, the arrest report still is in the system. Even if the actual arrest report is expunged, the fact that you were fingerprinted is still going to be in the system. So be honest and forthright with your recruiter throughout this process. All right, I digress, okay? So after you have figured out that you are pre-qualified based on your criminal history, financial history, and all that great and glorious stuff, right? The education stuff is gonna vary per program. And there are 3 different OCS options in which one can choose. So I'm gonna go with the best option, in my opinion, for you as the soldier, okay? I'm also gonna go through other scenarios in a second, but here we go. So let's go over the federal OCS option, the Federal Officer Candidate School Program, okay? This is the best one in my opinion because you knock it out all at once, and it's just, in my opinion, better because it has a higher graduation rate compared to the National Guard version, which I'll go over in a second. So this one is a 12-week program held at Fort Benning in Georgia. You may go to basic training at any of the 4 locations, whether it's Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, or Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. But you will do your OCS training at Fort Benning in Georgia. With this option, you must have a 4-year degree. There's no ifs and or buts. It doesn't matter if it's a technical degree, if it's a liberal arts degree, you just need a 4-year degree, okay? And we don't care about your diploma, right? You have to provide an official college transcript, not student copy. It has to be an official copy of your 4-year degree. If you have a master's, that'll work too, but you have to have at least a minimum of a 4-year degree. Now, this federal OCS option is open to Guard, Reserve, and active duty soldiers. Now, when it comes to let's go over this. So the board, right? So for active duty and Army Reserve, you are going to go physically before a board. Usually it's quarterly, and lately it's been monthly. So your active duty recruiter will tell you whether or not it's going to be monthly or once a quarter. But be patient because it doesn't happen that often for active duty and Army Reserve. I was told recently that it's monthly, but it varies based on the needs of the Army at the time. So with that being said, just understand that you are physically going to go before a board and be interviewed by those board members. Now, the next 2 OCS options are strictly offered to the Army National Guard. Again, the federal OCS, hence the term federal, is federally recognized. So whether you stay on active duty or if you're in the reserve and you want to go active duty, you could go active duty, no issues or qualms. going into active duty as a lieutenant or continuing your commissioning status, right? So with that being said, the next two versions is the National Guard's traditional state OCS program or the National Guard Bureau's state accelerated OCS program. Now, the accelerated is not an option up front. So you're going to have to either enlist or go state traditional OCS with the ability of possibly going through the accelerated course. So with the traditional state OCS program, it is conducted at your local RTI, Regional Training Institute. And if you're joining the New York Army National Guard, it will be held at the 106th RTI, located at the Camp Smith training site in Cortlandt Manor, New York. That is the only location, the only RTI in the state of New York. If you're in any other state, it will be at your local RTI somewhere in your state. Now, it is a 16-month program, part-time, in lieu of your normal drill weekends and your 2 to 3 week annual training that you would normally typically have in your regularly assigned unit. The reason why I say that the federal program is easier in the sense of you're focused, you're there full time, and you're knocking it out. With the traditional state OCS program, it's a lot more challenging. Not academically, it's the same academically. There are no differences in the academics. They're just taking those 12 weeks and they're spreading them out over 16 months. But with that being said, every month that you have your OCS drill, your Officer Candidate School drill, you are expected to be there on time, have everything you need, and pass a PT test, height and weight, and all that good stuff. And it doesn't matter if you have a family emergency, you have a wedding to attend to, or any other things outside of the Army National Guard, you must attend each and every single OCS drill. If you miss even just one drill or one muta of a drill, okay, you will be disenrolled from the OCS program. And depending on the reasoning, you may not be offered this option later on. So you have to be committed and understand that it's going to be a challenge in scheduling it and adhering to that strict schedule for the next 16 months. That's why I'm saying that this part of the OCS program is going to be more challenging for that reason. It has like about a 50% graduation rate because life tends to throw curveballs every once in a while. So with that being said, you might want to choose the federal OCS option at time of enlistment, okay? And if you're a reserve or active duty, they only have the federal OCS option. That's it. Guard has the option of going federal, which will be federally recognized, and state OCS is not federally recognized. So if you decide to go from National Guard to regular Army active duty or even Army Reserve, your rank will not, your commission won't transfer over because it is not federally recognized. Now, last time I checked in regulation, you have to have served at least 10 years part-time before you would be federally recognized. Now, leads me into my third option of the OCS program, which will actually be offered to you possibly throughout your state traditional OCS, which is the National Guard Bureau's accelerated program, which is a crash course or a fast-paced course, which is 8 weeks long, anywhere in the country that an RTI conducts the accelerated OCS program. So it can be done at any regional training institute nationwide. There's not one designated location like the federal OCS where it's done at Fort Benning, Georgia. Now, during the traditional OCS program, if you are proven to be proficient and effective and well-versed in land navigation and you have a great and phenomenal PT score and you are a PT stud, PT meaning physical training, right? And you do really, really well on the ACFT or the Army Combat Fitness Test, you may be offered the accelerated program. And if you can, please go through the accelerated program. Now it's going to be a lot more challenging because it's 4 weeks shorter than the federal OCS program. So with that being said, whether you're going through the state traditional OCS program or the National Guard Bureau's accelerated OCS program, both of those programs, the educational requirement is different. Unlike the federal OCS where you have already needed to acquired and obtained your 4-year degree, That is preferred, obviously, in the state OCS program in either one of those options, but you can enroll into the state traditional OCS and the accelerated OCS program if you have at least 90 college credits with a projected graduation date and you're graduating on time with a degree plan in place. And it must be proven with an official college transcript and possibly a memorandum from your school stating that you are on track, this is your degree plan, this is what you're going for, so on and so forth. And with that being said, by the time you commission as a second lieutenant in the Army National Guard, then you need to have your 4-year degree completed. If not, you have up to 2 years to accept that commission once you get and obtain your 4-year degree. So if you don't graduate on time before you commission or before you're eligible to commission in August of the following year. So in the New York Army National Guard, our state OCS, traditional OCS program starts in April and the following year ends in August, and that's when you commission. But if you fail to graduate on time before that, then again, you have 24 months from that date forward to accept your commission. So even if you complete the program, you have your 4-year degree, but you're not, for whatever your reasons are, willing to accept that commission at the time, you have 24 months to accept that commission. After 24 months, that option will cease to exist, regardless if you completed it or not. So you've been warned. Your maximum age for appointment is 41 years old, so you must commission before your 42nd birthday for both the state traditional OCS program and the National Guard Bureau's accelerated OCS program. So the disadvantage of the federal OCS program is if you're 33, 34 years old and you cannot commission or be appointed by your 34th birthday, the National Guard may be a better fit for you because you can still commission. Obviously, we're part-time and not full-time, but there are limited full-time opportunities that you could possibly pursue after you are fully qualified, so on and so forth. But at least you can commission up to your 41st birthday in the Army National Guard. All right, so let me give you some tips and tricks on the board in applying for OCS, okay? When you're applying for OCS, we wanna know that you're not just doing it because you feel entitled because you have your 4-year degree, okay? How do I put this? Do not be money hungry or portray yourself to be money hungry. We wanna know what leadership experience you've had in the past, whether it was high school, college, whether you were the captain of the football team, so on and so forth. Maybe you were part of a group, project, so on and so forth, and you were leading that group or what have you. Or let's say you were in an internship and you were in charge of that particular program for whatever time period. We also want to know what you feel makes you believe that you have the potential to be a leader. All right, everything has to be leader based, okay? So do not go in there saying, oh, I have a 4-year degree, I'm looking to join, and I want to make that extra money and be successful. They don't want to hear that, okay? So when it comes to active duty and Army Reserve, when you go before the board, you're physically going before the board. And with that being said, they are a lot more stringent and strict on who they allow to come into the OCS program or through the federal OCS for the active duty and Army Reserve, okay? Whereas in the National Guard, you don't physically go before the board, your packet does. On rare occasions, it would require you to go face-to-face depending on the unique circumstances or what have you, but for the most part, you literally have like a 20-30 minute interview with the OSM, the Officer Strength Manager for your area in the Army National Guard, and they will determine whether or not you are going to get it or not. And then when the board comes, your packet goes before the board and it's already been blessed off. So unless you fail out academically, physically, what have you, you'll revert back to enlisted at that point. But it is, in my opinion, easier to get accepted as an 09 Sierra, to go in as a commissioned officer and understand that let this be a warning for you, okay? Let this be a warning. Do not let your recruiter tell you not to enlist through the OCS option, because they're saying that because 9 out of 10 times, they don't want to take the extra time and effort to have you sit down with the Officer Strength Manager for the Army National Guard or for you to go before the board for our Army Reserve or active duty. It's additional paperwork. It just takes longer. And as a recruiter, me being one, I understand that we're trying to get you in as fast as possible. So just keep that in the back of your mind that we We want you in there like swimmer, like yesterday, not tomorrow, not next week, like yesterday. So with that being said, heed my warning. They're going to tell you, don't worry about it. You could drop it off. You could drop that packet anytime throughout your career, which they're correct. You can drop your packet anytime throughout your career. However, when you're going through the enlistment process, it is easier for the recruiting command to bless off on your OCS packet because we're, as the recruiting command, assuming that risk of you going in as a commissioned officer or as a candidate rather, officer candidate, right? Whereas when you're already in the Army, now you are going to be subjected to receive a recommendation letter by an officer, which is typically your commanding officer. Now, based on my experience with people that I put in boots, and even in the Army National Guard, to hearing other horror stories of people on active duty or Army Reserve, where their commanding officer is not willing to give them that letter of recommendation for various reasons. Now, if that commissioned officer feels or deems that you are going to possibly embarrass them throughout any part of the process, or they don't feel that you have the attributes of a leader or outgoing enough to be able to speak and be a good, effective leader, then they're not going to give you that recommendation letter, and you're not going to be able to become a commissioned officer. So now you're leaving it up to the commanding officer rather than the recruiting command. And again, the recruiting command is a lot more lenient on who they bless off on their OCS packets, whereas, like I said, the commanders, based on my observation in all three components of the Army, it's more challenging. So if you already have a 4-year degree or you meet the requirements for state OCS, then go at the time of enlistment. Because if you are in the middle of your contract and they deny your OCS packet and it doesn't work out for you, worst case scenario, you'll have to get out and try to get back in through the OCS option, through the recruiting command. That's like worst case scenario. So just keep that in mind. And again, it's about leadership. Taking care of your soldiers, protecting them, leading by example, and have that empathy. So a lot of people who go OCS, right, they're going to either go as an officer straight from the jump, from the streets, to becoming a commissioned officer. And there are those who are already in the service, or maybe they left the military so they can focus full time on their college education with the intent of becoming a commissioned officer, which is great. But my personal opinion, I hate commissioned officers that come from the streets to go straight in as a second lieutenant and with zero time in the United States Army, with zero experience, and they want to reinvent the world and make a name for themselves, and they're very cocky and they think they know what it is that they're talking about. So the Sergeant First Class, the E7, and a second lieutenant, that's when the officer corps and the NCO corps meet together and start working together. And that E7 has at least 9 years of Army military experience versus that second lieutenant who came from the streets into the Army as a commissioned officer, who are actually in charge of and responsible for their soldiers and their equipment. So if you're going to become a commissioned officer and you are going to drop your OCS packet either at time of enlistment or throughout your career, remember what it's like, especially if you have previously served as an enlisted soldier. Remember where you came from. Have that empathy, that understanding of what it's like. Do not forget what it's like to be an enlisted soldier. And always keep your soldiers' welfare at the forefront of your mind. Take care of your soldiers, and your soldiers will take care of you. So if you made it this far into the video, do me a favor, drop a hashtag Team Swords down in the comment sections, because that lets me know that you are my ride or die real MVP. And I want you to know that I appreciate you watching this entire video. I love helping you guys out. If you like this video, do me a favor, like this video, smash it if that's something you're into. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe, share this video with somebody who could benefit from the video. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Hold up, wait a minute. Like this video and follow me on social. And while you're at it, go ahead and check out one of my other videos right over here. Just pick one. They're pretty cool. I mean, I liked it. I mean, I was in it. Spoiler alert. I teach you something. Just
Just saying.